Okay. I have to adjust the camera again. Can you see me? Can you see me? Can you see me? Get somebody for your eyes. I'm so, that's so not the best. I think I'm quoting Drake from like 2009. Whatever. But anyway, the title of this video is Get Thee Behind Me, Satan. We've heard this multiple times. We've heard the story about Jesus rebuking Peter when Jesus predicted his death. But let's look into it a little bit deeper. If I'm looking over here, it's because I'm reading on the computer. So, from that time, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and the chief priests and scribes and be killed and raised up on the third day. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, God forbid it, Lord, this shall never happen to you. But he turned and said to Peter, Get thee behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me, for you are not setting your mind on God's interest, but man's. How many of our family members mirror Peter? You know, they want the best for you. They don't want to see you struggle. They don't want to see you go through hardships. They don't want to see you go through these difficulties. So they're trying to protect you. They're not necessarily doing what they're doing out of negativity. They're doing it to protect you. They want to protect you. Jesus was Peter's friend. Nobody wants to hear that your friend is going to be beat and murdered and hung to a cross. Nobody wants to hear that their friend is going to go through that. So Peter, in his mind, was acting in Jesus' best interest because he didn't want to see his friend go through that. But Jesus knew what he had to do. Jesus knew what he was called to do. And you have some Peters in this context in your life too. You have some Peters who want your best interest, who have your best interest at heart, but they're hindering what God has told you to do. You know what you're supposed to do. You don't need the validation of people. You don't need to ask everybody what you're supposed to do. You don't need all of that. You know what you're supposed to do. And you know what you're supposed to be, and you know when you're supposed to be there. So you know what you're supposed to be doing. Now, I want to read this in another translation. This is the Message Bible, and this is Matthew 16:23. So it says, but Jesus didn't swerve. That means he didn't falter from what he knew. He stood firm. He was steadfast. Peter, get out of my way. Satan, get lost. You have no idea how God works. And I want you to put a pin in that last point. You have no idea how God works. Jesus was firm in what he knew he had to do. He didn't let Peter deter him, even though Peter was acting out of love for Jesus because he didn't want to see his friend go through that. Jesus didn't let Peter deter him because he knew what he had to do. He knew what he was called to do. He knew why he was on earth. And you need to be like that too. Your friends, your family members, your loved one, your husband and wife, they love you and they want to protect you. But you know what you have to do. You have to go through those difficult times. Stop trying to protect everybody. Stop trying to abort the process. Stop trying to abort the process. Stop trying to help everybody. When you try to help people, sometimes you abort their process. When they go through difficulty and you always bail them out, sometimes you are aborting the process that they need to go through to mature. So what you need to do is you need to let them go through that difficulty. Now you don't let them go through the difficulty through the you mean in this point it was through death. But you have to let people go through the difficulty because they know what they're supposed to be doing. Jesus knew what he was supposed to be doing. Jesus had to call on his life, not Peter. God told Jesus what he was supposed to do, not Peter. So Jesus didn't need the confirmation of Peter. He didn't need the confirmation of man because he had the confirmation of God. And you need to be like that too. And then this last part, you have no idea how God works. Okay, so God told you to go to Timbuktu. He told you to move. He told you to start a ministry. He told you to start a business. He told you to get a new job. He revealed to you who your spouse was. And you have no idea how any of this is going to work out. None. You have no idea how any of this is going to work out. But it says right here, you have no idea how God works. I mean, if God has to create a job for you, if God has to move and manipulate some things so that you can have what you need, God will do that. And trust me, nobody said favor is not fair. So there may be some people who were moved in the process for you to be where you need to be. Don't worry about those people. God has another plan for them. But God may have to move them so that you can be in a position where He wants you to be. Again, you have no idea how God works. If God has to create it, He will. This man created, oh, sorry, Lord, I didn't mean to say this man. But God created the heavens and the earth. He created every single thing. He created you and me. You don't think God can create a position for you? You don't think God can create a man for you? You don't think God can create You don't think God can create a woman for you? You don't think that God can make all that stuff come true? You don't think God can find you a place to live? You don't think God can find you the money? You don't think God can do this? God created the heavens and the earth. He can take care of little old you. And I love that again. You have no idea how God works. A lot of us don't have faith. We try to work things out. And sometimes we take the scripture, faith without works, too far. We feel like we have to help God out. Maybe that's not what He means. Maybe you need to ask Him, God, what do I need to do? And if He says nothing, you know what you need to do? You need to do nothing. Because God is God alone and He does not need your help. So let me read that again. And this is from the Message Bible. But Jesus didn't swerve. That means He didn't falter in what He was supposed to do. Peter, get out of my way. Satan, get lost. You have no idea how God works. Again, you have no idea how God works. And I'm sorry, I'm looking over here because the computer is doing something weird. Macs are very sensitive. Random thought. Macs are very sensitive. So if you get a little bit of water on them, like it'll fritz out the whole day. Like they're so sensitive. Anyway, random thought. Random thought. But anyway, I hope I didn't distract you. But you have no idea how God works. You need to be steadfast. I need to start editing. You need to be steadfast and firm in what God told you to do. Jesus didn't swerve, and you shouldn't swerve either. Thank your loved ones for their concern. Thank your loved ones for their advice. But if it does not align with what God told you to do, if it is not confirmation of what God told you to do, then you need to be steadfast, and you just need to do what God told you to do. Again, you have no idea how God works. If God calls you to it, He will call you through it. So, sorry.